From Pepsi references to supernatural reunions to Billy Butcher's secret love for his dog Terror, there is no end to the incredibly detailed Easter eggs hidden all throughout Amazon Prime's hit show. But only true fans notice these things from Season 3 of The Boys. In Season 3, the boys find themselves going up against an all-new suit, Soldier Boy. Technically, Soldier Boy isn't new to the superhero gang. He's the first powered-up living weapon Vought created, and he's been a part of the company for a long time. According to the Vought-approved version of his biography, his service in World War II included storming the beaches on D-Day, and he continued working with Vought into the Vietnam War. Like Homelander, Soldier Boy has incredible strength and impenetrable skin. He also doesn't seem to age and has more than a handful of personality quirks, like compulsive marijuana smoking or casually homicidal tendencies, to cite two examples. It makes him a profoundly unreliable hero. Soldier Boy reportedly died in the 1980s. At the beginning of the season, Butcher is investigating how the seemingly unbeatable Soldier Boy was finally defeated. Maeve helps Butcher's investigation as her own form of rebellion against Vought, and the intel she gives him in the first episode of the season also includes a hint at Soldier Boy's real personality. Maeve gives Butcher a file on Soldier Boy which prominently features the name Raymond L.S. Patriarca. It's not clear whether Soldier Boy is this universe's version of the real-world Rhode Island mobster, or if Soldier Boy worked for him as a member of the La Cosa Nostra gang. But the file definitely shows us that Soldier Boy was in jail when Vought discovered him. Despite his unsavory past, Vought still decided to give him powers. It turns out Vaught's penchant for creating ill-behaved superhumans goes back to the very beginning of its history. To outsiders, Billy Joel's music probably seems like a bizarre pairing with the extra raunchy, hyper-violent content of The Boys, but the Piano Man is intimately connected with the show. In the very first episode of The Boys, Huey and his girlfriend Robin are having an intense debate about the merits of Billy Joel's music when A-Train kills her. That incident might have changed Huey's relationship with his favorite recording artist, but it also marks the beginning of some great needle drops in the Amazon Prime series. Season 2 features multiple Billy Joel songs, and the artist was excited enough to tweet his support for the show. The connection continues into Season 3, but this time the music is even more thematically appropriate. Uptown Girl plays in the first episode of the season over a montage of Huey's near-perfect life with Annie and working for the Federal Bureau of Superhuman Affairs. The song marks a new high point for Huey, but it also comes back over the episode's credits just after Huey discovers that his boss is the head-popping Soup who first begins terrorizing people back in Season 2. Huey might love some Billy Joel, but the music isn't always a good omen for his immediate future. Most of the time, Billy Butcher comes across as cold, calculating, and heartless, but every so often there's a small hint indicating that Butcher has a softer side. In the Boys comics, Butcher's dog Terror is a regular member of the team. Butcher's affection for the Bulldog shows he does have some capacity to care for something other than himself. He simply chooses to do so in an extremely selective, Terror-specific capacity. Butcher's fur baby has a small role in Season 2, but for the most part, TV audiences have missed out on that part of Butcher's life. That's probably because, as showrunner, Eric Kripke knows how difficult it is to work with animals. Ultimately, having Terror join the boys on their misadventures regularly turned out to be too much of a hassle. While Terror might not be helping in the effort to bring down Homelander in Season 3, he isn't absent from the show entirely. This season sees Butcher spruce up his kitchen counter at home with a cookie jar that looks identical to Terror. Beneath that tough exterior, Butcher is a softie when it comes to dogs. TV shows cost millions of dollars to put together, and raising that kind of money can be a real challenge. Most shows, and even movies, tend to include some product placement to pay the bills. Even though Amazon certainly isn't hurting for money, The Boys has done the same. Seeing real-world products in a fictional universe can sometimes feel jarring, but The Boys has been able to include products in a way that fits into the story in a more or less natural way. In Season 3, Huey and Annie's relationship is going better than ever, but it's not completely smooth sailing. Shortly after Homelander reveals that he killed Supersonic, Huey has his own bombshell to drop on Annie, so he decides to soften the blow with some candy and White Claw. Whether or not the brand name boozy seltzer seems out of place is up for debate, but the candy, Almond Joy, Charleston Chew, and Vito Honey, actually has real significance to the in-show history of The Boys. During Season 2, when Huey and Annie start building their relationship, he finds out that those are her favorite kinds of candy. At the time, Huey calls out Annie's taste.
Those are the three worst candy bars in the history of candy.
Clearly, he's filed away the information for later use. There have always been clear parallels between Vought in the world of The Boys and Disney. Both companies have histories that go back to the early 20th century, and both function as massive entertainment companies that also pursue numerous side projects in the form of corporate subsidiaries. In Season 3, the Vought-Disney associations become even more heavy-handed, and not just because we see much more of Payback, the series' original in-universe answer to the Avengers, than usual. Vaughtland is exactly what you'd expect from an alternate reality Disneyland. Kimiko and Frenchie have to make their way through a section of the park called Brave Maeve's Inclusive Kingdom, and their walk is packed with hilarious details. Clearly, Vought is capitalizing on Maeve's identity in a way only a soulless mega conglomerate can. They also scramble to make the public forget about the literal Nazi who occupied a prominent and influential position in the Seven until very recently. On top of ridiculous caricatures of Vought heroes and an unbelievable amount of rainbow flags, the Inclusive Kingdom also has some searing jabs at corporate appropriation of social justice issues. Kimiko and Frenchie walk past food vendors like BLM BLTs, Woke Walk, and a Mexican food stand with a menu that includes systemically oppressed tacos. Vought isn't going to lose out on marketing opportunities, no matter how shameless they are.
Truly, there is no good here.
The relationship between Homelander and Vought executive Madeline Stillwell was a major focus of the first season of The Boys, which premiered in 2019. Homelander's jealousy of Madeline's son became a huge point of conflict for the two of them, right up until Homelander burned a hole in Madeline's head in the season finale. In the years since that dramatic moment, the ultimate fate of Madeline's son Teddy has been a mystery, but Season 3 quietly reveals that Teddy is alive and well. Huey's investigation of his boss Victoria Newman leads him to the Red River Institute. The institute operates as a home for young Supes whose parents either abandoned them or died in a Powers-related accident. When Huey arrives at Red River, he pretends that he and Annie are interested in adopting a child so he can get a closer look at what's happening behind the scenes.
Well, Samir is South Asian. That is very hot right now.
In one of the Institute's classrooms, Huey has a brief interaction with a young teleporting boy who turns out to be little Teddy. The season doesn't reveal how Teddy became a Supe, but the reveal has some believing that Teddy is actually Homelander's son. We'll have to wait until Season 4 for more details. Soldier Boy's history with Vought goes all the way back to the company's earliest days. He's been out of the picture since the 80s, but he has intimate knowledge of the first several decades of Vaught's roster of Supes, and also made an outsized impact on Supe culture. As Soldier Boy reveals, he's the founder of the annual Herogasm event. When he discovers that Herogasm is still running almost 4 decades after his apparent death, he clearly takes a little bit of pride in its longevity. Soldier Boy brags about his history with Herogasm to Huey and Butcher, and in doing so, he also reveals a shocking detail about his history with Stormfront. He tells the others that he created the first Herogasm alongside her, but calls her by a telling name.
I founded it in '52. Me and this other Supe, Liberty. Man, was she a firecracker.
Season 2 of The Boys revealed that Stormfront was once called Liberty before Vought forced her to undergo a rebranding. Neither Huey nor Butcher tells Soldier Boy what became of his old friend, and as far as we know, he doesn't discover Liberty's fate for himself before the end of Season 3. Considering Homelander's intimate history with Stormfront, maybe it's better for everyone if this truth remains buried. Before working on The Boys, showrunner Eric Kripke was the mastermind behind another wildly successful TV series. Supernatural ran for well over 300 episodes on the CW, launched the career of Jensen Ackles, and inspired a prequel series called The Winchesters. Season 3 of The Boys sees Ackles join the show as Soldier Boy, but he isn't the only Supernatural alumnus who's part of the Amazon Prime series. In addition to Ackles, this season of The Boys also includes appearances from other Supernatural actors. Gatlin Griffith plays Gunpowder in flashback sequences this season, and he previously appeared as Jesse Turner in the Supernatural episode I Believe the Children Are Our Future. The season also reintroduces Jim Beaver as presidential candidate Robert Singer. Beaver played the character Bobby Singer on Supernatural, and both characters grew up in South Dakota. Dakota Bob, as he's called by some in The Boys, could become even more important in Season 4. The Boys is loaded with social and political satire, but the show's main characters are so caught up in their battle against Vought and the Supes that they hardly ever have time to stop and directly address issues that also exist in our world. A-Train and Blue Hawk provide an exception to this rule in Season 3 by offering their perspectives on police brutality and systemic racism. However, dipping into the discourse of current events doesn't pan out so hot for either of them. Despite the prominence of Supes in this universe, there's plenty of overlap between the political history of The Boys and our own. Some background details in Season 3 can help fans better understand how one character in particular relates to some of the most important issues in recent history. MM's apartment becomes a regular hangout for the characters this season, and in addition to meticulously cleaning the place, MM has also decorated it with political memorabilia. Hanging above his TV is a "Move On Over" or "We'll Move On Over You" sign that was adopted by the Black Panthers in the 1960s. In shots of MM's entryway, fans can spot a framed picture of President Barack Obama hung above a Vote Huey Newton poster. MM himself is much too young to have been a member of the Black Panthers, but it's not a stretch to imagine that his father had time to participate in the movement in between his legal battles with Vought and Soldier Boy. When it comes to attention to detail, The Boys goes above and beyond most other shows. It's not just that The Boys is filled with references to other series or small details about the history of its world. The team behind Amazon's series also takes care to accurately recreate the feel of ridiculous commercials and cable news segments. They also never miss an opportunity to sneak in a joke, which means that anytime a news segment is on screen, the ticker at the bottom of the screen is running with some hilarious detail. In Season 3, the trend of ticker jokes begins in the very first episode. The news is covering a group of Stormfront sympathizers who call themselves Storm Chasers. The ticker at the bottom explains that some Storm Chasers have gathered to await the return of JFK Jr. It's something some real-life conspiracy theorists believed would happen back in 2021.
They were disappointed when the assassinated president and his deceased son never showed.
The news ticker jokes in The Boys are almost always poking fun at some real-life figure or group. In the Season 3 finale, a news ticker takes a jab at Texas Senator Ted Cruz. It says that Cruz was caught trying to leave a hotel without paying for the pornography that he ordered in his room. It's those kinds of small details that make The Boys spectacular to watch again and again. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about The Boys are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.